Starting this fall, the City of Elmhurst will begin a citywide water meter changeout project requiring all residential and commercial water meters to be replaced. This project is needed because the majority of the city's meters are over 25 years old and have exceeded their life expectancy. The city has experienced many years of 18 to 20% of unaccounted for water. The city has hired Siemens as contractors to replace all water meters with highly accurate, non-moving part mechanical water meters that will aid in detecting leaks. The new water meters have the ability to provide on-demand reads as well as leak and tampering alerts and early identification of leaks before they surface. A customer portal will also be available for residents to electronically monitor for leaks and manage their water consumption online. Elmhurst water customers can expect to receive an introductory letter with project information. Project updates will regularly be posted on the city's website and social media pages. Residents are also encouraged to attend informational open house events that will be scheduled at City Hall. The water meter changeout project is expected to occur through spring of 2018 and is mandatory for all residents and businesses. The project will be completed in sections throughout the city. When Siemens is approaching a neighborhood, residents in the area will be sent a series of postcards requesting to schedule an appointment. Residents are asked to be responsive and schedule an appointment once this notification is received. The new water meter will be installed at no additional cost. Residents will be expected to have an adult over the age of 18 years old home at the time of appointment, which should take no more than 30 minutes to complete. Residents should attempt to locate their water meter in advance and ensure the meter is accessible for Siemens at the time of the appointment. On the date of the water meter changeout, the resident should take precautions and look for the logo on the installer's uniform and vehicle and make sure the installer's ID is visible before allowing the installer to enter the home. All of Siemens installers will be identified with an ID badge and will be driving marked vehicles. They will also be wearing project shirts with the project logo. Once the installer enters the home, residents will be asked to guide the installer to the location of the water meter. The installer will take the following steps to complete the water meter changeout. First, the installer will turn the water off at the main valve. Then the installer will exchange the old meter with the new meter. The installer will then turn the water back on, confirm proper flow direction, and inspect the installation to make sure no leaks are visible. The installer will connect the communication wire to the new meter and test to make sure a meter reading can be obtained. Finally, the installer will ensure that the work area is clean around the new water meter before leaving. During the installation process, the installer will take pictures of the old and new water meter. Once the water meter installation is complete, the installer will give the resident information on how to read the new meter and gain access to an online program called WaterSmart. WaterSmart is an online portal where residents can view account information, monitor daily water consumption, detect leaks, and set up notification alerts. The installer will also give the resident information on how to complete a customer service survey. Once the water meter is replaced, residents will receive a bill that will look the same as previous bills, but will include any remaining water use on the old meter, along with any cumulative use on the new meter. All subsequent bills will only include use from the new meter. A noticeable difference in the new bill will include uses registered in gallons versus cubic meters. Any billing questions should be directed to the city's utility billing department by calling 630-530-3111. The City of Elmhurst would like to thank all water customers for their cooperation during this important city project. Please visit www.elmhurst.org/water-meter-changeout for more information and to find out what area Siemens is currently working in. For questions on the installation process, please contact Siemens at 866-260-3176.
Welcome to Elmhurst Now. I'm Ken Bartels, your host. What does the term conservation mean to you and your family? How green are you right now in your home? Well, whatever the answers to those questions for you might be, I have two gentlemen with me tonight from the Conservation Foundation who will speak to that subject and a whole lot more. I have Brooke McDonald, the president of the Conservation Foundation, and Scott Lamort, Senior Advancement Officer. And gentlemen, welcome to Elmhurst Now.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Here.
So I want to start with that question. To the two of you in the field, what does the term conservation mean to both of you? What's the definition you use?
Well, you know, at the root of conservation is conserve and even conservative. So at the Conservation Foundation, we look at our mission as helping to preserve some of the past and some of the present for future generations. And you know, people look at nature in a different way. Nature means different things to different people. So you know, people just like to be outside and experience nature in their own ways.
Scott?
Well, I think for me, it's a very simple thing. It's about taking care of what we have so that our children and grandchildren and so on will have that or better.
So the Conservation Foundation itself, how long has it been in existence and what was the impetus for its creation?
Yeah, we were created back in 1972, so we've been around for more than 45 years now. And our founders were people really from DuPage County: Brooks McCormick, Paul Butler, Bill Green. Jack Knipfer was very involved in the creation of the Conservation Foundation. And our original mission was to help the DuPage County Forest Preserve District buy land. So we were sort of the private fundraising arm to help the Forest Preserve District to buy land. And we've grown and expanded our mission since then, but that's how we were created.
And the mission, your mission statement is, I know it's short, so.
Well, we've lengthened it a little bit.
Okay.
It's to help build healthy and vibrant communities by preserving and restoring open space and natural areas, cleaning up our rivers and streams, and promoting stewardship of the environment. And we work in DuPage County mostly, but also in Kane County, Kendall County, and Will County.
I was just going to ask, I know your offices are in Naperville on a tract of land, a former farm, and the counties you just mentioned. To what degree are there counties that you're more involved in than others at this point?
Yeah, I'd say DuPage County is definitely our most active county. We have been working in DuPage County the longest, and we have the longest standing relationships. So most of the work we do is in DuPage. Just recently, we started doing a lot more work in the Fox River Valley. So eastern Kane County, parts of Kendall County. Yeah, those are the areas the most.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some of those projects that I know you have going on a little farther west of where we're sitting tonight. Scott, how long have you been involved with the Conservation Foundation?
I've been employed at the foundation now for 5 years. It's been 5 of the most interesting years I've ever got to spend. It's been a 5-year learning curve for me to understand how this game is played. The thing that I think is interesting for me is that living in Elmhurst, I'm an Elmhurst resident, as you know, I didn't realize there was still open space left in DuPage County. Come to find out, not only is there some open space, there's actually a county open space plan, and there's people working on that plan. And I think to the rank and file residents on this side of the county, maybe we don't realize that.
Well, I think in eastern DuPage, which is certainly where Elmhurst is located, I think I would agree with you. I would say most people would say, you know, good luck in finding any open space that isn't already designated as open space, forest preserve, right, park districts, what have you. But you're telling me there is.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, you know, putting together a long-term open space plan is like putting a puzzle together, like a jigsaw puzzle. And you put them together sometimes little pieces at a time. And clearly in eastern DuPage County, there's less available than there is in the western part of the county. But there's still areas throughout the county that may not be open space now, but may be open space in the future. There are places where they're experiencing flooding. And I know that flooding is a big issue here in the eastern part of the county, where there are examples that buildings and stuff get torn down because they just repeatedly flood and they just remain open space. So I'm not necessarily suggesting that
Sure.
everywhere, but there are places where that happens. So yeah, it's like putting together a long-term jigsaw puzzle.
Well, and part of the mission, but part of your research, I would presume, is what's interesting about where water collects is where it probably historically collected,
Yeah.
or where it historically has gone since we decided to build up as much as we've
Right,
built up.
yeah.
So it's kind of reverting to its original purpose.
Yeah, water will find space all the time, and it may not be where you want it, but it will find a place to go. So we've had a tendency to push water around a little bit and maybe not treat it with so much respect, and every once in a while it gets back at us.
Yeah. Now, Scott, you mentioned living in Elmhurst, but I was going to say, what programs do you have active in Elmhurst right now?
I'd be happy to take that one. We have a great partnership with the city of Elmhurst. 3-4 years ago now, we started the Conservation in Our Community program, which is us working at the municipal level in towns, particularly in DuPage County. In fact, it started out as a DuPage County program, since expanded into our other counties, but one of the pilot towns was Elmhurst. So we do things like rain barrel for water conservation, which I know you know about. The last couple of years, we can say data-wise, we've seen an increase in the amount of rain barrels being used in Elmhurst. So if you buy a rain barrel for water conservation purposes at your home, you buy that through the city of Elmhurst, that's actually coming through the Conservation Foundation to the city to your gutter. And we've seen 15% increase from 2016 to 2017, and we're looking forward to hopefully that number going up in 2018. And I'd like to take a minute to thank one of our partner organizations, Community Bank of Elmhurst, has display rain barrels in both of their branch locations in City Center at York and Schiller and the South Branch at Butterfield and Spring. So if you want to see what a rain barrel looks like, they're available for you to look at.
Okay, so rain barrels is one. What else?
That's a
What
good
else
one.
is going on in Elmhurst?
Well, we have that Conservation at Home program. It's been one of our most popular programs. And this, I think between rain barrels and our Conservation at Home program, it's a way to engage people where they live in their yards on doing good conservation practices. You asked in your opening statement how green people are.
Right.
And participating in our Conservation at Home program is an easy way for people to become greener in their yard and on their property. So again, installing a rain barrel is a good conservation practice. But at the core of our Conservation at Home program is promoting the use of native plants in the landscape. And we're not talking about promoting weeds or turning your entire yard into a prairie, but if you're going to create gardens in your yard, consider using native plants. They're beautiful, they require very little maintenance once they get started, and they provide functional value as they help infiltrate water and rainwater as opposed to helping to create runoff. So we need to look at ways to reduce stormwater runoff, and of course that leads to flooding, and we know that flooding is a big issue around here. So if people would start employing some of these landscape conservation practices, we might see a reduction in flooding.
So rain gardens.
Butterfly gardens, just the use of any native plants. Native plants have very deep and robust root systems, and that helps send the water down as opposed to sending it across.
Which in turn keeps waterways like Salt Creek healthier.
Mm-hmm.
And this home conservation program actually has a designation attached to it, as I understand it from your website.
Yeah, you
So-
get a sign. So if you
So if you do certain-
if you do good things, you get to put a little sign in your yard that says I did something good.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the sister program to that for non-residential properties, our Conservation at Work program, cleverly titled, for business places. And a couple of places in town where you could see Conservation at Work properties would be West Hall on the Elmhurst College campus, and also the Elmhurst Hospital campus on the south end of town on Brush Hill Road.
Okay. I also know, Elmhurst doesn't own Salt Creek, but we feel like we do. And I also know that Salt Creek cleanup is that an annual thing? It is an annual thing.
Yeah, it's called the DuPage River Sweep.
Okay.
And this year it's on May the 19th. And it's an annual river cleanup of all of our streams and creeks in DuPage County. We've been doing that for 27 years. And depending on the weather that day, we'll get anywhere from 500 to 800 volunteers. And they're just spread out all over the county. And the Salt Creek's been part of this effort since the very beginning, 27 years ago. So if anyone in Elmhurst or any community along the Salt Creek wants to organize a group to participate in the river sweep, it's May 19th, and they can give us a call and we'll help get them organized.
So do you do other streams and other than Salt Creek as well? So it's not just
Yes, no, it's all of DuPage County. So every stream in DuPage County. The three major waterways in DuPage County is Salt Creek, and then the east branch of the DuPage River and the west branch of the DuPage River. And there's lots of little creeks that flow into those. So there might be a neighborhood group that might organize a cleanup that day on the little creek that flows through their subdivision, which is awesome because we like when people work close to where they live. We think it's important.
So walk me through what a volunteer would do that day. I mean, I can picture the notion of picking up garbage that's easy to pick up.
Sure.
But when you encounter larger items, what happens then? The
that's a
submerged
great
refrigerator.
We've had many submerged large items over the years. Some people, depending on who's in their group, will just make a note of it and let us know, and then we'll contact the local municipality and try to make arrangements to get it out later. But some people just can't help themselves, and they just literally dive in. We don't want people to go in if the water level's high, but our streams around here are pretty shallow. You walk in up to your knees, and that's probably the deepest it's going to be in most areas. And there are some groups that just say, you know what? We're not going home until that refrigerator is out of here. And they pull it up on the bank, and we give everyone gloves to wear and bags. And we also have great partnerships with the local municipalities where they come and pick up the garbage.
Okay, what's the strangest thing that you each have pulled out of a stream in DuPage County?
Yeah, mine is sort of not the most exciting thing, but I think it was one of the strangest things I've ever seen.
Well, that was the question.
Yeah, no, it definitely qualifies as strange. It was a plastic garbage container, but it was filled to the brim with concrete.
Ooh.
Yeah, awfully heavy. Awfully
I think
heavy.
So.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mine, the very first year we did this back in 1991, I was with a volunteer group on the west branch of the DuPage River over near West Chicago, and we pulled out a porta potty.
out of the river.
Yeah.
When you gotta go, you gotta go.
Yeah, so someone literally threw a porta potty over the bridge into the river, and we don't know how long it was there, but it was sort of interesting trying to get it out.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go to break shortly, and when we come back, I want to talk about some of the new, larger projects, if you will, that you've got going a little farther west of here. But before we do that, we've already talked on the more limited opportunities of Eastern DuPage. The closer you get to the city, I would guess the fewer opportunities there are in terms of open land. But why is it important for the Conservation Foundation to maintain a strong presence in perhaps areas that aren't quite as opportunistic for you as they were maybe earlier in your organizational life?
Well, preserving land isn't our only mission. We do lots of conservation-related things, mostly centered around working with people and working with local communities. So Scott mentioned the rain barrels, conservation at home. We do a lot of environmental education. Eastern DuPage has a very dense population, and even though there may not be a whole lot of open space left to protect, the other side of our mission is cleaning up rivers and streams, and Salt Creek needs some help. And so by working with our partner organizations, we're going to be working on Salt Creek for a long time because it has some improvement to do.
And I would add to that, because I think you're spot on there, and I would just add that I think it's important that an unbiased organization be around to help municipalities when they do come up with situations where they need professional advice and really don't have anyone to turn to. And that's a role that we often play. Brooke often says, his goal for the organization is to be the reasoned voice for conservation. So we take a lot of pride in our collaborative efforts. So being in towns like this are important because eventually there are going to be reasons the city may need some help, and we're here to help.
Okay. On that, we'll go to break. I'm talking about the Conservation Foundation with two gentlemen from the Conservation Foundation. This is Elmhurst Now, and we'll be right back.
Have you visited the Elmhurst Public Library lately? The Kids Library is a wonderful place. When not being used for library programs and classes, Elmhurst Public Library cardholders can reserve the meeting rooms. The second floor is where you can find the adult and teen collections. An enclosed area devoted to high school students provides space to create, play, share, and study together. Use our computers, or bring your own, to our work-friendly business center. Technology classes for all expertise levels are taught in the computer lab. High-quality audio and visual equipment in the Creative Studio gives you the opportunity to create, record, make, and invent. You can produce real items with the 3D printer and poster printer. Study rooms provide space for studying on your own or working with others. The larger gathering room is available to reserve by Elmhurst Public Library cardholders. Our convenient book drop and drive-up window make picking up and returning library materials a breeze. Don't forget, Elmhurst Public Library is always open online at elmhurstpubliclibrary.org.
Welcome back to Elmhurst Now. We're talking about the Conservation Foundation and its active role in DuPage County and other counties to the west of us. And we've talked about Eastern DuPage, where Elmhurst is. It's an Elmhurst program, but I'm interested in some of the new and larger programs that the two of you and your organization have been working on in some of the other counties adjacent to DuPage. And I'll let you pick what projects you want to shine a light on at this point.
Well, in addition to DuPage, we work in Kane, Kendall, and Will counties. But the last couple years, and I think for the next several years, we're going to invest a lot of time in the Fox River. The Fox River is a fantastic river. Starts up in Wisconsin, flows all the way down to Ottawa, where it flows into the Illinois River. It's a huge watershed, has a huge drainage area, and a large population condensed in towns up and down the river. So there's an example of a river that still is in pretty good shape. It's a lot better than it used to be. And what we want to do is make sure that it doesn't get bad again. So we're trying to be more proactive in the Fox River watershed. So we've launched a 5-year project called the Fox River Initiative. And it involves engaging people in the communities, trying to get people jazzed up about how awesome the Fox River is, get them out in canoes and kayaks, and just get them a little bit more familiar, and hopefully to learn to appreciate that river a little bit more. Again, teaching them how to do things in their yards, on their properties, in their communities to reduce stormwater runoff and help keep the water clean and healthy. And the Fox River has a fantastic bike trail system, particularly through Kane County, and people out there love the Fox River. So we're sort of jumping on that bandwagon and trying to take advantage of the enthusiasm those communities have about the Fox River.
I also, on your website, had noted a large parcel of land that you have in it. It is in the Ottawa area, is it not?
Yeah, it's called the Dayton Bluffs Preserve. It's a 253-acre preserve that we purchased back in 2013 for $2 million, raised every dime privately, so not a penny, not a dime of taxpayer dollars went into that. It's a beautiful, historic piece of property with 100-foot bluffs towering over the Fox River, and we lease it to the city of Ottawa for $1 a year, and they help maintain the property and maintain the public access, where the Conservation Foundation and our volunteers are in charge with the restoring the wildlife habitat and sort of taking care of the trees and the bugs and the bunnies. So we're in charge of the natural stuff, and the city's in charge of the sort of the daily use kind of stuff. So it's a great partnership, and it's an example of the kind of work we do.
For a little bit of perspective on that, 253 acres is larger than the majority of Illinois state parks, correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of small state parks, but I mean, 253 acres is a big chunk of land.
It is.
Yeah, but it's privately owned. The Conservation Foundation, we own it, but with the partnership with the city of Ottawa, between them and us, we take pretty good care of it. It has Native American burial mounds on it, has an old pioneer cemetery, some really cool ravines, some rock outcrops, and if folks have ever been down into the Wedren, Ottawa area on the Fox, you know, it's a little different world down there. It sort of looks like the Wisconsin Dells in many respects, and it's just a beautiful piece of property.
And the Bluffs project is open to the
it's
public?
Open to the public. It's basically a forest preserve. Ottawa's down in LaSalle County. They do not have a forest preserve district down there. So this would be if there was a forest preserve down there, this would be a perfect forest preserve district property.
It's like Starved Rock without all the tourists.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds fascinating, and the photographs on the website and other photographs I've seen are fascinating. I want to circle back to something you said and related to the fact that the purchase of the Bluffs was all private money. I know, because I've read your literature and know some things about your organization, that you are also helpful to forest preserve districts, park districts, in acquiring and holding land for them. Can you explain that process a little bit more?
Sure. I mean, and this gets back to our roots. The very reason why we were created back in 1972 is to help park districts and forest preserve districts buy land. They are limited in their funding. Land's not cheap, it's very expensive. And so they often need an organization like us to help find other sources of funding to leverage the funds that they have or that they have access to. So we will do joint acquisitions. We're doing one right now along Little Rock Creek with the Kendall County Forest Preserve District, a joint acquisition where they will ultimately own the property, and it'll be a brand new forest preserve. And we will help facilitate land donations. We also have been pretty successful at helping passing referendum to provide funds for local park and forest preserve districts to sell bonds and purchase property. We've passed 13 conservation ballot measures over the past 25 years and raised about $750 million. And that money has gone to various park and forest preserve districts throughout the region, and they've preserved about 30,000 acres with that money. So that's another tool in our toolbox.
That was 30 with 1,000 behind it, right?
30,000 acres of land from these, and these are voters who are in relatively conservative, anti-tax communities who are going to the ballot box, and they may say no to many good things, schools, libraries, fire districts, but they've hardly ever say no to open space and more parks and more forest preserves. Not one county-wide open space referendum has failed in the Chicago area over the past 25 years. And so people are willing to pay a little extra money for open space and parks and forest preserves because it's of value to them, and they understand that it improves their quality of life and helps make their communities healthier and more vibrant.
So Scott, you're the advancement officer. How do you go about raising all this money that you need to do this good work?
Great question. As Brooke alluded to earlier in one of the stories he was telling, that we are not government funded. We are a 501c3 not-for-profit corporation. We are a 4-star rated charity by Charity Navigator. We are fortunately funded by the generosity of people and organizations in this area. We are, not beholden to anyone. We raise our own money. We're fortunate to have about 5,000 folks who kick in to help us out so that we can continue to do things like this. And then when something big pops up, we go out and do what we need to do to continue raising those monies. So when a project comes up, like the Forest Preserve Brooke was mentioning, we go out and like Brooke said, people will support open space. I heard a commentary on the radio the other morning on NPR, and the guest on there said, "Land and water will be our children's oil." And I think that's a really nice way to put it, because it resonates, right? I mean, and I agree with it. And that's why I think this work, while it's certainly never easy, is doable.
What did Will Rogers say? Land, they're not making it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing with water is a finite resource. We can't make water.
Right.
I mean, our Earth has had the same amount of water on it for millions of years, not a drop less, not a drop more. What's changed is the amount of clean water that we can use. We're polluting our water at a rate where it's costing more and more to find cleaner water and to clean up the water that we've sort of tainted over the years. So clean, fresh water is a big deal today in many places, and it will be a bigger deal in the future almost everywhere.
Well, and I think those of us who live in the Great Lakes region, some people take fresh water and the amounts of it that we're exposed to on a regular basis as well. That's the way it is everywhere.
Yeah, we're pretty spoiled.
It isn't.
Yeah, and there are proposals, particularly out west in the western United States, where they want our water.
Yes.
Because they don't have access. So the population out west is growing, the climate's getting more arid, and there are proposals to pipe Lake Michigan and Great Lakes water out west, which, that's, when you start thinking about the cost of doing that and the reason why, it's almost astonishing to imagine that.
It is indeed, and astonishing on some levels that it's even being talked about.
Yeah.
But
right.
So as our viewers are watching this program, it's April, and spring is completely upon us. So what does spring mean for programs at the Conservation Foundation?
Spring means activities picking up for sure around us. So we've mentioned the River Sweep. That is May 19th, countywide in DuPage County. Our largest fundraiser is April 19th, centered around the Earth Day celebration. So that's April 19th. You can see our website, theconservationfoundation.org, for more information on both of those events. We're also hosting a plant sale.
Yeah, that's May the 12th, I think.
May the 12th, I believe you're right.
Yeah.
At our headquarters at McDonald Farm in Naperville.
Right.
Brooke was mentioning native plants. We will have native plants, shrubs, and trees available that day. So again, all this tied to the mission of the foundation to promote those kinds of things.
Yeah, April, May is pretty crazy in our business. Everybody wants to celebrate the environment in April and May.
Obviously, since the organization was created, its mission may not have changed that dramatically, but the focus and key elements of that mission have had to morph with time. Brooke, you've been with the organization for a long time. But what's probably the most dramatic difference between when you joined the organization and today, other than your own role?
Well, I've been with the organization as the CEO for 22 years, but I volunteered for 7 years prior to that. So I've been with the organization for nearly 3 decades in some capacity. It's really grown, and it's evolved from really a small group of volunteers who are really running the day-to-day to a professional staff of nearly 30 individuals that we have employed at the Conservation Foundation. We've had to grow and adapt as our communities grow and adapt. So as a not-for-profit, we have to make sure that our mission is relevant to people and is addressing the needs of the people in the communities that we serve. When I first started in 1996, we were still just DuPage County only, and then a year later we expanded and added 3 more counties to our territory, but we even work into DeKalb, LaSalle, and Grundy. So if you think about it, we're really working in 7 counties. We try to stay ahead of, we want to be out ahead of development and get good land use planning, good development standards, and open space set aside before sprawl hits it. Because the economy is going to kick back up, there's going to be more growth and development, and that's fine. We all need houses to live in and roads to drive on, but we want to make sure that there's plenty of open space and clean water and clean air for people when they move out into those areas. And as Scott mentioned earlier, we want to be the reasoned voice, and to us, it's all about balance. We're not anti-development, we are all about balance. And we know that having clean water, clean air, and lots of open space is just good for our quality of life. So, you know, we've had to change and adapt as our communities have grown and changed and adapted.
So, question for both of you. Given your organization, given its mission, given what it's doing now, what aren't you doing that you would like to do? So I guess that's sort of a future challenge question. Do you want to?
That's a good one. One of the things that I would love to see happen, and I don't know that it's anything that we as an organization can do, but we would love to help do, is you know, when Brooke talks about the Fox River, what we've seen in the development of those communities is some of those towns historically had their backs to the Fox River. They dumped their waste in it. You know, the buildings faced away from the river. As those buildings turn over into new uses, they've turned forward to the river. So maybe now you have a restaurant that has outdoor seating right on the water. That kind of an approach. And what I don't see around us, particularly when I go through town in Salt Creek, is I don't see this community paying much attention to the creek. And that's something I'd love to see more of. And that's not an Elmhurst thing per se, but
Sure.
I do see it in our town. But I like to see that along all the waterways, really. So.
Yeah, Naperville did that with the Riverwalk.
Sure, it's a good example.
That's
Right.
a famous area down there along the west branch of the DuPage River. I remember talking to the mayor, the former mayor. He said when he was a kid, they used to drive their cars and their trucks actually into the river, and that's where they'd wash their cars. He said back then the river was dumpy, it was smelly, it was trashy, and everybody, you know, sort of turned their backs to it, and it was in the backyard. And then with the river getting cleaner because of the passage of the Clean Water Act, and the water cleaning up, and the Forest Preserve and the Park District buying land, now all of downtown Naperville sort of faces and is centered around the river, and the river's sort of like the lifeblood of downtown Naperville. And so it's a great example of, by cleaning up a resource and embracing it as a community, it can be a huge economic benefit to that community also.
And I think you can get even more local than that for us. You don't have to go that far out. When I go across the south border of town into Oak Brook, there's a property a lot of people don't know about called the Dean Nature Sanctuary, which is an Oak Brook Park District facility. Beautiful piece of property. Salt Creek runs right through it. I see people taking pictures of their kids in front of those spots. I don't see that in our town, and that's the kind of thing I wish all towns could sort of get behind, is that idea of using these things as assets.
Well, that's creative, I have to say. I've been mentally trying to picture where that would be. But
we can explain it. So you go down York Road, just south of 31st Street. There's a little street called Canterbury, is it?
Canterbury Lane in Oak Brook.
Take a left and you run Canterbury till it ends, and you'll see 294 above you. And the preserve is right there. It's the former home of Sam and Dorothy Dean of Dean Foods.
Yeah, and the Conservation Foundation, we preserved that land in 1995. Dorothy Dean donated that. We facilitated the donation of that 40 acres to the Oak Brook Park District, and then she put a conservation easement on the property that's held by the Conservation Foundation, and then she donated $1 million to us. So that was a pretty good deal.
that was a pretty good deal. Yeah, absolutely. So you already highlighted your website, but is that the best way, people who are watching this that either aware of the Conservation Foundation or totally unaware, and they want to learn more about you, is that the best way to go about it?
That is a good way to do that. We are also on Facebook. You can like us on Facebook. We're also on Twitter and I believe Instagram. Can't say I'm on Instagram, but I am on Facebook and Twitter, and I know we are as well. Our website, certainly theconservationfoundation.org, is just a fountain of information. Our contact information's on there. literally, if you call one of us, we'll answer. We're a small enough organization still that you get personalized service when you call, and happy to answer questions about any and all things that we've been talking about. But yeah, our website certainly a great place to get information.
And that Salt Creek cleanup date again was?
May 19th.
May 19th, okay. Well, I thank you both for joining me on Elmhurst Now. The Conservation Foundation, as I said, I know a lot of people that are aware of your work in this area. I wanted to have the opportunity to let you share the story, not only of DuPage, but of things you're doing in other parts of Northern Illinois, which are important for all of us, regardless of where we live. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you,
Thanks
Ken.
for having
Appreciate
us.
it.
This has been Elmhurst Now. I'm Ken Bartels. We will see you again, and have a wonderful spring.
Starting this fall, the City of Elmhurst will begin a citywide water meter changeout project requiring all residential and commercial water meters to be replaced. This project is needed because the majority of the city's meters are over 25 years old and have exceeded their life expectancy. The city has experienced many years of 18 to 20% of unaccounted for water. The city has hired Siemens as contractors to replace all water meters with highly accurate, non-moving part mechanical water meters that will aid in detecting leaks. The new water meters have the ability to provide on-demand reads as well as leak and tampering alerts and early identification of leaks before they surface. A customer portal will also be available for residents to electronically monitor for leaks and manage their water consumption online. Elmhurst water customers can expect to receive an introductory letter with project information. Project updates will regularly be posted on the city's website and social media pages. Residents are also encouraged to attend informational open house events that will be scheduled at City Hall. The water meter changeout project is expected to occur through spring of 2018 and is mandatory for all residents and businesses. The project will be completed in sections throughout the city. When Siemens is approaching a neighborhood, residents in the area will be sent a series of postcards requesting to schedule an appointment. Residents are asked to be responsive and schedule an appointment once this notification is received. The new water meter will be installed at no additional cost. Residents will be expected to have an adult over the age of 18 years old home at the time of appointment, which should take no more than 30 minutes to complete. Residents should attempt to locate their water meter in advance and ensure the meter is accessible for Siemens at the time of the appointment. On the date of the water meter changeout, the resident should take precautions and look for the logo on the installer's uniform and vehicle and make sure the installer's ID is visible before allowing the installer to enter the home. All of Siemens installers will be identified with an ID badge and will be driving marked vehicles. They will also be wearing project shirts with the project logo. Once the installer enters the home, residents will be asked to guide the installer to the location of the water meter. The installer will take the following steps to complete the water meter changeout. First, the installer will turn the water off at the main valve. Then the installer will exchange the old meter with the new meter. The installer will then turn the water back on, confirm proper flow direction, and inspect the installation to make sure no leaks are visible. The installer will connect the communication wire to the new meter and test to make sure a meter reading can be obtained. Finally, the installer will ensure that the work area is clean around the new water meter before leaving. During the installation process, the installer will take pictures of the old and new water meter. Once the water meter installation is complete, the installer will give the resident information on how to read the new meter and gain access to an online program called WaterSmart. WaterSmart is an online portal where residents can view account information, monitor daily water consumption, detect leaks, and set up notification alerts. The installer will also give the resident information on how to complete a customer service survey. Once the water meter is replaced, residents will receive a bill that will look the same as previous bills, but will include any remaining water use on the old meter, along with any cumulative use on the new meter. All subsequent bills will only include use from the new meter. A noticeable difference in the new bill will include uses registered in gallons versus cubic meters. Any billing questions should be directed to the city's utility billing department by calling 630-530-3111. The City of Elmhurst would like to thank all water customers for their cooperation during this important city project. Please visit www.elmhurst.org/water-meter-changeout for more information and to find out what area Siemens is currently working in. For questions on the installation process, please contact Siemens at 866-260-3176. Have you visited the Elmhurst Public Library lately? The Kids Library is a wonderful place. When not being used for library programs and classes, Elmhurst Public Library cardholders can reserve the meeting rooms. The second floor is where you can find the adult and teen collections. An enclosed area devoted to high school students provides space to create, play, share, and study together. Use our computers or bring your own to our work-friendly business center. Technology classes for all expertise levels are taught in the computer lab. High-quality audio and visual equipment in the Creative Studio gives you the opportunity to create, record, make, and invent. You can produce real items with the 3D printer and poster printer. Study rooms provide space for studying on your own or working with others. The larger gathering room is available to reserve by Elmhurst Public Library cardholders. Our convenient book drop and drive-up window make picking up and returning library materials a breeze. Don't forget, Elmhurst Public Library is always open online at elmhurstpubliclibrary.org.